In this video, you will learn about the final days of the children sacrificed in the ancient Aztec civilization, how they were chosen, what their families endured, and what happened to them on the day of sacrifice. These rituals, unimaginable to many, reveal the terrifying devotion Aztecs had to their gods and how they viewed human life. Watch to the end, because the prayers uttered on a child's final breath and the agony they experienced hide secrets that expose the darkest side of history. Unlike ordinary victims, children sacrificed in Aztec rituals were considered the purest and most innocent offerings to the gods. For that reason, child sacrifice ceremonies were even more solemn and carefully conducted than those for adults. The rain god Tlaloc was one of the most important deities to the Aztecs. When drought, famine, and hunger threatened their civilization, the most effective way to appease Tlaloc was with a child sacrifice. In Aztec belief, a child's tears would bring the rain. Children chosen were usually between 6 and 12 years old, both boys and girls. They were either temple-dedicated slaves from years earlier, or children offered willingly by poor families. Some sources even describe wealthy families offering their own children to show gratitude to Tlaloc. Sacrificing a child was seen as a supreme honor, not only to earn the god's favor, but also to gain the community's deepest respect. Families who offered a child were elevated to a sacred status within their community. Poor families in particular were celebrated and supported for the rest of their lives. Yet, for every mother and father, the decision came with unspeakable grief. Mothers often mourned for days after handing over their child. Cultural and religious pressure turned their suffering into a form of sanctity. Several days before the ceremony, the chosen child was brought to the temple by priests. They were dressed in fine cotton garments, their hair carefully groomed, and their faces marked with sacred symbols. Even if the child suspected what lay ahead, they did not resist, taught instead that they would become a hero, ascending to a heavenly, lush world. During this time, the child would listen to priests' prayers, sometimes repeating them, sometimes crying quietly. Aztec priests regarded tears as a divine sign. The more the child cried, the more rain Tlaloc would send. In fact, some priests actively encouraged tears. The day of sacrifice began before dawn. Priests lit a great fire in the temple courtyard and burned incense as they called to the gods. The child, wrapped in a white cotton cloth symbolizing purity, was escorted into the ritual space. Priests circled around, chanting rain prayers to Tlaloc and pleading for mercy. The child was given water, sometimes infused with calming herbs, since resisting or trying to escape was considered a bad omen. The child's face was painted blue and crowned with bird feathers, symbolizing their entrance into Tlaloc's realm. The most horrifying moment came when priests sought to draw tears from the child. According to some accounts, children were dipped in cold water or gently frightened to provoke weeping, because the Aztecs believed their tears would transform into rainfall. When the moment of sacrifice arrived, priests completed their chants, and the child was placed upon a stone altar. A sacred obsidian blade was placed against the child's chest. In a final invocation of Tlaloc's name, the priest removed the still beating heart and lifted it skyward as an offering. The assembled crowd waited breathlessly, hoping for signs of divine acceptance. The child's body was considered holy. In some ceremonies, parts of it were given to participants, who believed receiving a piece would guarantee health and prosperity for the year ahead. Families were summoned afterward for blessings by the priests. From that day on, they received help and respect from their community. Yet many mothers remained in silent torment, whispering their child's name at night while carrying grief and solitude. As reflected in this video, Aztec child sacrifices were horrifying and heart-rending rituals, yet they were believed to be a sacred duty driven by fear and devotion. Families thought they performed a profound act of faith. They thought they secured divine protection for their people. Today, these rituals remain etched in memory as some of history's darkest and most harrowing practices.